Hey everybody, this is Tracy, and as promised, I am about to start recapping NBC's hit series, This Is Us. And I know I'm late with doing this show, but to be honest with you, just to give you a little history, I had actually watched the season premiere back in, I believe it was September or October when it first aired. And I really liked the show, but for some reason in subsequent weeks, I could never remember what day it came on or remember to tune in. And then a couple of weeks ago, my niece Imani, she was like, Auntie, how come you don't review the show This Is Us? It's a really good show. So I decided to go and download the app and get caught up. And when I tell you guys, I fell in love with this show. So I am really excited. And I'm going to try and get all 10 episodes in before they return from winter break on January 10th. So let's go ahead and get started. So the show opens up with, we go from scene to scene, and it's like multiple people, and they're celebrating their 36th birthday. So I don't know what the significance of 36 is, but they're all celebrating their 36th birthday. So the first people that we meet is Rebecca and Jack, and Rebecca is very, very pregnant, and we later learn that she's pregnant with triplets. And so I guess it's a custom of Jack and Rebecca's, that they always have sex on Jack's 36th birthday. And so despite the awkwardness and how uncomfortable she is, he insists that, he still wants to make love to her. He thinks she's beautiful and everything. And so they, she lays down on the bed and she's like looking like a beach whale, to be honest with you, because she was so humongous. And so she lays back on the bed, and then he rips off his towel, and just as he's about to go in, she tells him that she knows how to turn him off, and he goes, nothing you can do could turn me off. And she says, well, my water just broke. And so nothing like a mood killer than your water breaking. So anyway, that was the end of that. And so then we move on to the next person, and it's a lady, and she's, I guess what they would consider morbidly obese, very overweight, and her name is Kate. And, like I said, it's Kate's 36th birthday. And so I think she went into the refrigerator, and there was a cake in the refrigerator, and there was a note on the cake that said, it was for dinner or something like that. And so she rips off the note, and then underneath the note was another note, because whoever put the cake in the refrigerator knew she was going to try and eat the cake. And so they was like, no, you didn't. And so, she's feeling really bad about, not being able to subdue her cravings and, I guess all the issues that people that are dealing with their weight issues go through. And so after Kate, we meet Randall, and Randall is he's a black guy, and he's at work, like a corporate setting. And so his colleagues come in with a big birthday cake, and it was a 3 and a 6, and they're singing happy birthday to Randall. And then after we move from Randall, we go to another guy, and his name is Kevin, and Kevin's a real handsome guy, and he's sitting on a sofa or a bed or something, and then there's these two women, I think they either had on lingerie or bathing suits, but they're sitting there rubbing on him, and telling him, how great he is. And then he tells them that it's his 36th birthday. So those are the four people who are celebrating their birthday on that day. So we go back to Kate, and so she decides to weigh herself. And I guess like a lot of people that are battling with their weight and have real serious weight issues and image issues, she takes off everything, like all her clothes, all her jewelry and everything. And I think she even may have wiped the makeup off her face, like whatever it takes for this scale to weigh her in at the least amount of weight. And then as she goes to step on the scale, she falls. And so can you imagine, like I say, she's really obese, and then she fell, and she's in the house by herself. So then we get back to Kevin, and Kevin's having a party, and he was poolside. So I don't know if Kevin lives like in a mansion or if they were at a hotel or what was going on. But he's having a party, and he's dancing around, with all these women with their bikinis on and everything. And so he gets a phone call, and the call is from his sister, and she's having an emergency and needs him to come right away. So he leaves the party to go and see about the sister. And so we learned that Kate is Kevin's twin sister. So talk about, total opposites. So you have this suave, handsome, fine guy, and then his sister's like she's a pretty girl, but like I said, she's overweight and she's battling, with self-esteem and her weight issues and everything. And so, Kevin's trying to talk to her and telling her basically that she's in control of the weight issue, and if she wants to lose weight, all she needs to do is lose the weight. But we all know that that's easier said than done. But Kevin insists that if she puts her mind to it, that she can do it. And I think there was something about surgery. Kate doesn't want to have surgery. She wants to lose the weight naturally. Then we move back to Jake and Rebecca. And so they're at the hospital and they learn that Rebecca's OBGYN is in emergency surgery. He had his appendix burst, so he's having to have like a appendectomy. And so the guy who comes in as his replacement, the on-call doctor, he's an older guy and he has like a real funny sense of humor. And so he's trying to reassure them that he's delivered enough babies that, they don't have anything to worry about, and that he's going to, do a great job in helping them out. And I think one of the issues was that Rebecca is 6 weeks early with the delivery of the babies, and that's why they really wanted their regular guy to be there. But they have to trust this guy because their regular guy isn't available at the time. And so we go back to Kevin, and it turns out that he's like a B-list actor, and he is the star of a comedy sitcom called The Nanny, where he is a nanny. It's a play on instead of a woman taking care of some kids, he's taking care of the kids. And so his dad is Alan Thicke, the actor, and it's just can't believe Alan Thicke is gone. He passed away, I think, like a week or two ago from a heart attack. And it was just really sad because to do this recap, I did go back and rewatch the show tonight. And so it was just, kind of surreal, seeing him and knowing that that was like his last acting role. So anyway, Alan Thicke plays Kevin's, the character on the show that he's an actor playing an actor. And so Alan Thicke is his dad, and I guess they have an estranged relationship. And so they have like this really dramatic scene, and the audience appear, the show is aired before a live audience, and they seem to really appreciate the scene that took place. But Kevin and the writer are at odds, and there was a scene earlier where, Kevin and the writer were going at it, and Kevin was saying how some actor would never play in a role like that, and I guess the writer was basically saying, yeah, because he's a better actor than you are, and that's why you're stuck in this role. Or maybe he was trying to say that at some point that actor did play in shows like that, and that's how he got to be an A-list actor. So, but anyway, after the scene with Alan Thicke and the audience is really feeling it, Kevin goes to the writer and he's like, see, this is what I'm talking about. They really like that. And the guy was like, well, yeah, they liked it, but that was a little too serious. So we need you to go back and redo the scene and, put a little humor into it. And so Kevin, I don't know if he's having like a midlife crisis because, he's approaching 40 and doesn't feel like his career has gotten anywhere. And so he goes back and he picks up the fake baby that he's caring for, and so he starts beating the baby on the table or the sofa or something. And so he yells to the audience that it's a fake baby, it's a fake suitcase, and he pulls Alan Thicke's suitcase and shows that there's nothing in it. And so he basically implodes on the set and talks about how horrible the show is, how horrible the writing is, how horrible the audience is for actually applauding and laughing and think that this is a good show and everything. So he basically quits the show live, and everybody is, filming it with their cameras, and it's all on social media and everything. So we go back to Randall, and he is at his daughter's soccer game. He has two little girls, and he's at the soccer game, and so his wife comes up, and her name is Beth. And so Randall is telling her that he paid $1,500 for a private investigator to track down his biological parents. And so he found out that his mother and his father were actually crack addicts, and that his mother had passed away. And so, the wife asked him what he was going to do with the information, and he said nothing. And so she was like, okay, well, why did you just waste $1,500, getting this information if you're not going to do anything about it? So Randall seems a little bit torn now that he knows the history of his parents, so I guess he was adopted or something. So then we go back to Kate's place, and she's throwing out all the junk food that she has in her house, and she's committed to going to like a I don't know if it's a weight loss. Well, it's like a support group for people that have weight issues. And while she's dumping all the food out, somebody comes along with their dog, and you know how people who have dogs, and they have like the little bags where they scoop up the dog's poop. But anyway, she hands it to Kate to dump out, and then Kate dumps the poop out of the bag into the dumpster. And I don't know if she was going to give the bag back to the lady or what that was all about, but that was kind of gross because I never would have took that bag from that lady. I would have told her to throw it away herself. But anyway, so Kate goes to the group, and so to the group meeting, and so as the members are sharing their stories, it was like a husband and a wife, and I guess they like have issues within their marriage because he's not supportive of her weight loss efforts. And then there was this young girl who I guess she was suffering from anorexia and bulimia, or one or the other. I don't know how that works. But anyway, there's this guy in the back of the room, and he's like making faces. And then when the people stop talking, he makes like these real insensitive jokes. And so Kate is like the only one that's laughing at the jokes. And so after the meeting, they're talking and everything. And so you can tell that he likes Kate, but Kate is basically like, well, I'm serious. I thought your jokes were funny, but I'm serious about my weight loss. And then he's like, well, I'm not serious about my weight loss. And then Kate tells him that she's not interested in dating a fat guy. And then he was like, well, maybe I'll go ahead and get serious about losing the weight. So I guess they were kind of like hitting on each other. So the guy name is Toby, and then he asks Kate out on a date, and they do end up going out to dinner, but it was like a really awkward like dinner because Kate is like really intense and she's counting calories. And I'm one of those people, like, if you're on a diet, don't go out to a restaurant because you're not really going to enjoy the meal, and then you're skimping because, like, when I go out to eat, I want to eat and enjoy myself. And that's pretty much how Toby was. So that was kind of awkward with her being serious and him not being serious. And so after they finish their meal, they go back to Kate's house. And so, he's kind of like flirting with her and asking, can he come inside? And so Kate is trying to debate whether or not she's going to let him in. And so she does finally give in and tell him that he can come inside. So then we go back to the hospital with Jack and Rebecca, and we find out there's going to be complications with the delivery. But as the doctor's trying to, explain to them that there might be a problem, Jack jumps up and he's saying that, there isn't going to be a problem, that his wife is going to deliver the babies naturally, and that he's going to take his 3 healthy kids home as well as his wife, and everything is going to be good. And so you could tell the doctor's kind of hesitant, but he's, he wants to humor Jack, and he tells him, well, if I know nothing else, I know I like you and I like your spirit, and we'll just play it by ear, and then he walked out and left. And so the scene goes back to Randall. And so Randall shows up at his biological father's house, and he's not a homeless guy, but I guess he's, he lives kind of like in poverty, and he lives like in a poor part of town. And so when the guy opens the door, Randall has this prepared speech where he's telling him that, that he's his son, and it's his 36th birthday, and he's telling him about he's married, he has 2 beautiful children, he has a good job, he has a beautiful wife, and that he's driving this $43,000 car, and he just wants his dad to know that, he did well even though he was abandoned at a fire station, I think he said. And but he just wanted him to know that he was doing well. So then the guy like looks at him and was like, well, that's good, would you like to come in? So then Randall's like, yeah, I would. And so I thought that scene was kind of funny. So Randall goes in, and he's being real mean to the guy, and he really wants the guy to feel bad and to apologize, for giving him up or abandoning him when he was a newborn. But the guy is like, I can't apologize to you and tell you that I'm sorry, because to be honest with you, I was so strung out on drugs, and after your mom died, I didn't know what to do with you, and I really don't remember much about that night. And he said, but if you say I abandoned you at a fire station, that may be true because I always had a fascination with fire stations, he says, but pretty much I don't remember any of the stuff that happened, so I can't tell you I'm sorry. But you seem to have turned out okay. Oh, and by the way, his father's name is William. So Randall, like I say, he puts on the show and he's saying, screw you, and that's the point where he walks out, but then he turns around and comes back and he asks William, he said, would you like to go and meet your grandchildren? And then William says, of course, I'd love to, so they get up and they leave and they head over to Randall's house. Randall and his dad, William, they arrive at Randall's house. And so when they walk in the house, Beth is like stunned, like, what the hell have you done? You bringing in this man, who looks like a ragamuffin. Because I think one of the girls pointed out the fact that he had a hole in his coat or something. And so, Randall's like, well, everything is okay. And then he introduces William to the girls as a friend of the family, and so they walk off with him to take him into another room to show him something. And so Beth is like looking at Randall like, well, what the hell happened? Like, how did you guys end up here? Why didn't you call to let me know what was going on? And so Randall, he apologizes, and then all of a sudden he just starts laughing like he's having a nervous breakdown or something. And so Beth, the scene ends with Beth like looking at him like, are you okay? So back at Kate's place, her and Toby, they're sitting on the sofa and they're getting ready to make out when all of a sudden Kevin busts into the house, right? And so Toby's like, he's starstruck and he's like, oh my God, you're the guy from the Manny. And, he wants to take pictures with Kevin, and Kevin's like taking the pictures as he's trying to explain to Kate, about him imploding on the set and that he had quit his job. And then he was like, where have you guys been? Have you not seen social media? And so they bring up, some of the footage from, him going off on the set. And Toby is just like, oh my God, I can't believe this. And Kate is looking at him like he has totally lost his mind. So we go back to the hospital, and Rebecca, she gives birth to the first baby, which is a boy. And so then she goes into shock, and so they have to do an emergency C-section. And, of course, Jack doesn't want her to have a C-section, but they pretty much are in, like emergency mode, and they push him out of the room so they can go prep her. So the other two children are another boy and a girl, and we find out that the second boy didn't make it. I think his air supply was cut off because the umbilical cord was wrapped around his neck. And so, of course, Jack is in shock as the doctor is telling him this. So he offers to sit down with Jack and, talk to him. And so he's pretty much telling Jack about how his wife passed away the year before, and they had been married for 53 years, and that their first child actually passed away during childbirth as well, and that's what led him to become a obstetrician. And he was saying that he would like to think that his son passing away gave birth to a whole bunch of other children that he delivered and was able to save throughout the years. And that, he had come to learn that, when life gives you lemons, that you make lemonade out of it. And he was, looking at Jack, and Jack was just sitting there stone-faced like, you just told me that my baby died. I don't understand what any of this has to do with anything. And so, the doctor pretty much tells him that he hopes that later on all of this will make sense. And so Jack wants to go see Rebecca, but the doctor tells him, Rebecca's going to be out for a while, and that the best thing he could do is to go to the nursery and see his babies, which Jack goes, he does go to the nursery to see the babies. So back at Randall's house, William picks up a picture and he asks Randall if those were his adopted parents. And Randall tells him that yes, they are. So they talk for a few minutes, and then William lets him know that he's dying. And so then Randall says, oh, you're sick. And he says, no, I'm past the sick stage. I'm actually dying. Like, I don't have that much long to live. And, he lets Randall know that he's grateful that he had the opportunity to meet his grandchildren. So as Randall is trying, to take all this in, William, turns to him and says, well, I'm sure your dad must really be proud of you. And so Randall, he becomes emotional as William is walking away, and he's like trying to wipe away the tears. So then we go back to Kate's house, and so they've been drinking. The three of them have been drinking, and so Kevin is starting to regret, his decision of, what happened at the show, quitting the show. And so Toby goes to get some wine, and Kate is consoling Kevin. And so she's trying to get Kevin to remember something that their dad used to say to them whenever they were facing adversity. But then she realizes that Kevin has passed out. And so we go back to the hospital, and Jack is at the nursery, and he's looking at the babies when this guy walks up. And so he asks him, which baby is yours? And the guy says neither. And then he tells Jack that there was a little black baby in one of the cribs. So he tells Jack that baby actually had been abandoned at the fire station, and that he found him, and so he had brought him to the hospital and dropped him off. And so, as they're talking, the angle of the camera kind of pans out and gets a fuller scene. And we see a guy, and he's at a vending machine, and the guy has on like this polyester suit, which was very popular during the 70s. And then the light bulb went on in my head. And this was actually the second time for me watching the show when the light bulb went on. And I realized that Jack and Rebecca are actually the parents of Kate and Kevin, and that they are the adoptive parents of Randall. And so after Jack had this talk with the doctor, and then he realized that Randall had been abandoned, he decided to talk Kate into he decided to talk Rebecca into adopting Randall, as if it was like some divine sign that their son passed away in order for them to be able to save Randall. Okay, and then back with Kate, the thing that Kate was trying to get Kevin to remember was that their dad always said to them, when life gives you lemons, make lemonade. And when I tell you, my God, I am so in love with this show, and I literally stayed up all night to watch all 10 episodes. And then again, the season premiere came on again tonight, and I watched it again, to go ahead and do the review for it. But if you haven't watched This Is Us, please download the NBC app and get caught up, because it was a great show, and I know that you're going to love it. And so I hope you enjoyed the review, and please go ahead and comment if you have any comments, and rate the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. And until the next time, love and blessings. Take care. Bye-bye.